Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into the esoteric depths of the left-hand path to examine a terrifying yet completely illuminating force known as the Black Sun. Specifically, we're going to decode its sovereign, the ruler of the Qlipha Thagirion, Belphegor. We'll be breaking down some pretty dense occult source material to figure out exactly who Belphegor is, mapping out his distinct qualities, and really dissecting the core principles that govern his realm. It's a journey into the absolute extremes of spiritual transformation, so let's get into it.
The Lord of the Dead in the Garden of Shadows. Now, the source invocation set an incredibly heavy, dark atmosphere right out of the gate. Contrast this Garden of Shadows with your traditional orthodox concepts of a paradise or an Eden. Instead of eternal stasis and blissful ignorance, this esoteric garden is a place of primal decay and necessary destruction. And it's crucial to understand that, within these occult texts, this isn't just some poetic metaphor. Belphegor functions as the ultimate lord of this decay, a definitive force of destruction and rebirth that practitioners actively and purposefully seek out. So, to fully grasp who Belphegor is, we first need to define the exact space he occupies. Thagirion is the Qlipha of the Black Sun. To put this into perspective, think of the Kabbalistic Sephirothic tree of life as the standard blueprint of creation, a system of divine order, light, and structured rules. Well, the Qliphoth, and specifically Thagirion, acts as its dark, inverted mirror. Looking at this strictly from a neutral, anthropological standpoint, Thagirion represents anti-cosmic illumination and the brutal destruction of worldly illusions. It's literally a realm designed to break down reality as we know it.
Okay, here is how we're going to decode this demonic grimoire today. We'll start with the Lord of Thagirion, then dive into his archetype and principles, examine the manifested forms, detail the actual invocation and interaction, and finally walk the path of initiation.
Section 1. The Lord of Thagirion, the identity of the Dark Solar Prince. Let's peel back the historical and textual layers of Belphegor to reveal his true esoteric rank.
The grimoire maps out Belphegor's unique frequency using some incredibly specific correspondences. His domain is the Black Sun, which is grounded energetically by plants like patchouli, sandalwood, and interestingly, the sunflower, which naturally tracks solar movement. His sacred symbol is the crevice, or the open cleft. Now, this is hugely significant in the source material. The crevice represents a literal and symbolic tear in the fabric of reality, kind of like a physical opening straight to the underworld and the void. These are the specific coordinates practitioners use to align their minds with his presence.
Now, check this out. This is known as the Belphegor palindrome. It is a staggering 31-digit prime number that reads the exact same forwards and backwards. And right there, smack in the absolute center, you have 666, the number of the beast, perfectly hidden between 13 zeros on either side. It's a massive numerical anomaly, but it maps directly to the principles of Belphegor. It shows us that even within the anti-cosmic chaos and destruction of the left-hand path, there is a terrifying underlying order and intentional design to his power. Moving on to Section 2, Archetype and Principles, the Mechanics of the Black Sun. Let's examine exactly how Belphegor's anti-cosmic energy actually operates in practice.
The texts outline a few core forces that the archetype of Belphegor embodies. He's a master of alchemy, the Lord of the Dead, a solar god of fertility, the king of sorrow, and an initiator of creative inspiration. Notice how he synthesizes these massive contradictions? He is simultaneously the god of fertility and the Lord of Death. In this esoteric framework, you literally cannot have true creative inspiration without first completely destroying what already exists. Decay feeds the new soil, right? These aren't opposites. They are a single, brutal engine for profound spiritual transmutation. The crucial point here is how his domain philosophically opposes standard cosmic order. On the left, you've got cosmic light, representing order and creation, sure, but also stagnation and rigid laws. On the right, there's black light, representing destruction, anti-cosmic chaos, and liberation. So why would anyone choose destruction over creation? Well, according to the text, the imposed order of the cosmos is seen as a spiritual prison. The main principle of Belphegor is shattering that stagnation to achieve supreme, fiercely independent spiritual liberation.
Section 3. The Manifested Forms, Visages of the Lord. When this overwhelming force is actually invoked, how does it appear?
The manifested form of Belphegor is described as a multi-layered, highly terrifying visual experience. He's a shifting, esoteric entity. He can appear as a dark god of fertility,
a towering lord skeleton, or, and this is a fascinating historical oddity from early texts, a giant bird with a protruding tongue. The grimoires emphasize that his true form is an eclipsing black light so intensely bright that the human mind simply cannot comprehend it, so it forces these shifting, terrifying archetypal visages into our consciousness instead.
And the grimoire uses this beautifully eerie language to convey his presence. His voice is the sound of the wind over the noon fields, swaying the crops before the harvest. It perfectly captures a sort of devastating calm. You know that tense, suffocating quiet right before a massive storm hits, or right before the reaper's scythe falls? It reminds the practitioner of the immense, silent power underpinning all his chaotic manifestations.
Let's look at Section 4, Invocation and Interaction, the Practical Grimoire. Why and how do practitioners on the left-hand path actually interact with Belphegor?
Practitioners are instructed to provide very specific sacred offerings. These range from dark grapes and cognac to honeycombs and stones gathered from those deep crevices we talked about earlier. And it also notably includes excrement. Now, while that might sound a bit extreme, the texts explain the logic purely impartially. It ties directly back to his ancient origins as a god of fertility and the earth's cyclic decay. The reasons for invoking Belphegor with these highly polarized items are deeply transactional. The practitioner is actively trading these heavy, earthly anchors to trigger anti-cosmic illumination, basically using the ultimate earthly fertilizer to water the seeds of a black sun.
The evocation process itself demands strict operational steps. First, you use a cracked mirror or a physical crevice as your focal point. Next, the practitioner vibrates the opening mantra, Zazis, Zazis, Nasa Tanada Zezis. Vibrating mantras is a widely used technique in these texts to physically alter your state of consciousness, literally tuning the frequency of the mind to match the heavy energy of the Qlipha. Finally, they focus intently on the Ajna chakra, the third eye, to open their mind to his shifting visions.
To fully unlock the seal of his throne, this specific incantation is used. Chera, Zomithan, Ophel, Orahaz, Soratheros, Belphegor, Qliphoth Qliphoth. That final phrase, Qliphoth Qliphoth, roughly translates from esoteric Hebrew to open the Qliphoth. According to the source texts, vibrating this exact formula acts as a definitive master key in the occult system, opening a dark gateway directly to Thagirion.
Finally, Section 5, the Path of Initiation, Forging the Spirit. What is the ultimate endgame behind bringing this destructive force into a practitioner's life?
The ultimate goal is extreme magical initiation, directly tied to the concept of the Adamus Ader, or the Black Diamond. In this system, Belphegor and magical initiation are totally intertwined. He acts as an immense alchemical furnace. Now, the traditional philosopher's stone is about turning lead to gold, right? Representing the perfection of the physical world. The Black Diamond is entirely different. It represents a spirit that has become completely indestructible despite the physical world, forged through the absolute destruction of the earthly ego. By subjecting the practitioner to overwhelming spiritual pressure, the dark alchemy of Thagirion compresses and purifies the spirit into this unbreakable diamond.
And that leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought to consider. According to these esoteric teachings, when the black sun burns away all the illusions, the rules, and the stagnation of the cosmos, what true, unyielding form of your spirit will remain in the ashes? It's a relentless look at the concept of purification through absolute destruction. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the shadows.